They are. All right.
All right.
Can I take it away?
Yeah, take it away.
Yeah. Right. In the agenda we have, right, it's an announcement of the formation of a new working group that's going to be looking into AI integration. As it says there, that's the goal, is to aim to define, coordinate, and ramp up integration of AI capabilities into all product areas. So you can look at the page there, at the handbook page of the working group. In our group wide, we have some members. So we do have me representing for code review, and eventually the membership will grow as necessary in the future. I copy pasted this from the source code. That's why I mentioned Torsten. Okay. But it's relevant, I guess, to be aware that they are present there. So we can, if you have any product focused things or engineering focused things, you can leverage me and Sarah, I guess, to get them in. The idea then is there's the MLOps team and the AI assisted team or the AI assisted team to work on their own models. Then we're going to be looking at potentially integrating with far beyond that. And that's what we're going to be looking to enable. But then the features themselves, they'll be built out by the product teams, consuming those APIs that will be built and the infrastructure that will be built. So that's kind of like my my announcement. Questions? Mm-hmm.
Just long term, I want to understand, what does success look like here? What are,
For this group?
yeah.
Got it.
What
So
are we
good
trying to
question.
solve? It sort of feels
Right.
like we're jumping onto a shiny new toy because it's shiny and it exists.
So there is a search by customers for this. And what we're looking is for reasonable features that enable and empower our customers that do want to play with this tool or these tools, to allow that, to enable them to do so. What this working group will be looking to do is to, instead of having each group try to figure out ways to do this in their own way, inconsistently, and like one in each their own way, we're going to be trying to find a consistent approach to do these integrations. And that it just started, so it's kind of like that's what success will be looking like, is a streamlined way for us to leverage API powered features, or not leverage, to ship API powered features. And how that looks like, it looks like we'll have a consolidated API to get access to this internal and external models. And then eventually will allow us to enable certain features if the users are interested in that. So that's my attempt at answering that question, but I'll keep you posted. Okay.
Yeah, I was a friendly reminder that code review has the only, or one of, I'm pretty sure it's the only current AI feature in the product at all, in suggested reviewers. And so I was talking to Taylor about this yesterday and trying to understand like where usage was anyways. So we should also not, look for opportunities that we could highlight those more, right? Like those are things that are also good from a user perspective. Like we know finding reviewers is hard, but also from a business and broader market perspective currently. So that's the other one. You're right. Thank you, Stanislav.
All right. Any more questions on the working group? But we're going to stay on the same subject on the next point. So I'll move along. If you have any questions, do bring it up. So in the spirit of experimenting with potential cool integrations and useful and integrations that we could do, we have been discussing to organize some sort of like very informal hackathon for rapid prototypes. So what's been happening, I created a draft issue that I'm kind of like spitballing and brainstorming what this could look like. The idea would be to set one day aside for the engineers to collaborate in building things into, our areas of the product that implement some of the ideas that are floating around. The reason for this is essentially to get us acquainted with the topic, but also to explore potential problems with UI or things that we need to be aware of, or even get us on board with exactly what's going to be the hurdles that we'll face once we start building these things. This will facilitate, or this will help planning future actual implementations of these features. This will not be rolling out to production. This is just going to be just playing around with. But the idea isn't just to get everybody on board with the topic. There's a bunch of questions like, how is this going to be revealed to the users in terms of UI for the RUX folks? How is this going to be revealed to our users? There's also product questions, but that's out of this hackathon about tiers and stuff, but pricing. But right now, the hackathon is exactly experimentation, and there's some issues linked there with ideas and use cases that fall on source code and code review and a bunch of other groups that they all look great on paper, but do they actually look good once we start playing with them? So that's what we're trying to see. The idea will be to have some sort of functional prototypes to call the APIs to get the response to see if they are even good enough. Because just because we use AI doesn't mean that the feature is going to be useful. So we definitely want to build the right thing for our customers and for our thing. So yeah, just announcing a hackathon. It doesn't have a date yet because we're waiting for that API to be defined, or at least some sort of technical guidance on how we can build this out to, in a way, be useful in the future. It's aligned with the way that we'll be building these things. I am thinking of using some time of our team to work with that. I believe most of these things will leverage front end mostly efforts of like consuming APIs, but probably back end also can help in terms of talking to these APIs as well, making that smooth. But yeah, just to let you know that that's going to happen. I'll keep you posted on once we have a date and everything. I just wanted to share it here as well, since I'm not sharing with everybody. Okay.
Yeah, I guess my question was like, have we solved the licensing, whatever challenges? I know like there are some current concerns around like the models that do exist out in the wild and like using those for anything or trying to like do that. I guess like, yeah, how do I hackathon if I have nothing to like go ask questions to? Sort of my question.
No, that's exactly why we're holding off on setting a date. Is exactly we want to have a clear picture of what can we do and what can't we do. We definitely want to make sure that we're not merging any code. So it essentially will be experimentation. So there's a chance that we might just use personal API keys, not personal APIs, but our own API keys just to experiment. And then you'll have to, when you check out the code, you'll set in your variable with your key to call with your own account, if that's possible. So we'll be given keys to experiment. So there's still a couple of things to iron out, but there's still we'll do it once we have answers about how to rapid prototype these things. I'll keep you posted there. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Ben.
that helps clarify that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just had a question if it has to be like customer facing or part of the product. I have a proof of concept for a chatbot that will works off of like sus verbatim to give UX research insights, but I wanted to build it out to be a bit more robust. I don't know if that's something I should like include in a hackathon thing or not.
So Ben, we don't want to limit too much. So it's going to be just one day across all time zones, but it's just going to be one day. So we don't want to like be too ambitious here. but we will not be too restrictive. So if you have an idea that is slightly related with the group that you're in and potentially could be interesting to experiment, who knows? Maybe we can learn from that experience and then turn that into a more concrete proposal. So I wouldn't say no right off the bat, because it's not me to say. It's again, it's going to be an informal. I have to stress this out. It's going to be an informal hackathon. Do not expect this whole bunch of prizes coming out of the. It's going to be for fun. Okay, it's going to be sort of a create team day, but sort of like writing code with it, kind of spirit. We got, I don't know. It said prizes. What? No. Yeah. No, I said. Did I say that? I don't know. I'll have to watch the recording. Um, well, bragging rights are prizes. So I mean, okay. So essentially, yeah, we have to keep it open. There's no much restricting right now on the things that could be built in the context of the hackathon. We're looking to play around with this and learn from it as a group. We'll also be pulling in people from source code. Global Search has also shown some interest in playing around with it at this level of like experimentation, loose collaboration. So there's a thread there already. So yeah, it's gonna be fun experimentation. That's the point. Guy has a read only. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice experimentation. GPT thing. Yeah, Thomas, I know that it's read only, but I think what they're talking about is having that internal API built by GitLab be a pass through to that API. But eventually, yeah, we'll need to have some ways to interact with this from the front end stuff. So we probably need some backend. Once we have some of those answers and like have a streamlined way of experimenting with this, it might not be very close to what we'll be shipping into the product, but will be enough to, because like how to call the API, whether it's internal or whatever, that's not the biggest question. We know how to do those sort of things. What we don't really know is the unknown that comes after that, like which models are better for certain questions. Will we be hard coding prompts into our code to send to the external APIs? We'll be allowing the users to prompt it directly. Like a lot of those questions we don't really know because we've never seen them in the action with our product, with our code, things. Again, once we start talking about shipping this to production, working with production data, a whole bunch of other questions rise up. So we don't have those answers yet. Right now, it's just local experimentation, demoing it with some videos and stuff. That's the level of the expectation for the hackathon. And then we'll be dedicating one day of capacity for it. I don't know if it'll be in this milestone. Looks like not. So potentially the next milestone, we might do the planning according, reducing capacity for it. But yeah, once I have more, I'll share. Amy, do you want to voice?
Sure, but I can't talk and type at the same time. Not
I'll
competently
type
anyway.
it.
I wish we could query the docs intelligently from the GitLab UI.
Oh, we have a demo for that.
Oh, do we?
Yes. I'll find you a link for it, okay?
Cool.
So Tim's playing around with this. One of the things he did is he used a large language model he trained a large language model to understand the docs, and the demo is basically a prompt to ask questions about the docs. Sorry, it's the handbook, not the docs. Sorry, it's okay. The handbook. So that there might be something there to try out as well.
Was it both the handbook and the docs? I couldn't remember. I think I'll find it too. I'm gonna have to, yeah.
I mean, not that I'm cheering
ask
to be
Tanuki.
Yeah. Not that I'm cheering to be replaced with a robot, but
Nah, it's fine. Just
I
need some
know.
more time off.
I'm actually pretty excited about that possibility because there are some really interesting implications for AI plus documentation that I can ramble about at length. Anyone else
I'll
on
add
this?
some links. I'll add something to the agenda because a lot of the ideas. So Tim has been talking about this concept of like tiered levels of complexity, where one is like a simple call and response. You send something and like, hey, analyze this. That's one level. The other is like, hey, get trained on my stuff and then help me try to find this, whatever. Just kind of like what the docs are. And there's like even more complex, more custom built models. That's the level 3. The first level should be fairly simple to implement. There's like API calls, which I have to figure out the legal parts, UI parts. Because for example, if you think about explaining this code or summarizing this MR or give me a walkthrough for this MR, a lot of that is there's a lot of options, right? Are we going to just throw them in the menu? Are we going to allow people to talk to the MR? So those are questions that we really need to figure out for our product, which goes even beyond all the legal, ethical questions. It's just like some of our customers do want to use it. That's kind of like the trigger for all this, or not the trigger, but at least the reason for us to be looking into all this. So yeah, once we figure out all the legal stuff and all that, we can start shipping this stuff. But until then, we can start learning and start seeing how this will probably playing out in our area of the products. Right. Are we at time? We are at time. Do you have any more agenda items? Amy, let's move on to yours.
Yeah. FYI for now, I'm starting to assess the blast radius of the upcoming changes to the names merge trains and merge when pipeline succeeds. If you follow the link to that merge request, I would suggest you get a cup of whatever has caffeine in it. It's long. Long story short, we're on it. We know it's going to be big, and it's probably all going to come down to the end of 1511 when my availability is going to drop. So this could get fun as the milestone goes on. So the only action from any of you is that anything that can come in even a day or so early this milestone, that'd be cool. And
awesome.
Actually, the one comment I will point you to is this one. Oh, there we go. I went digging for surprises that engineering didn't find. I found some.
That's all right, Amy.
Don't just grip the docs folder, y'all. That's all.
Thanks for that. Kai,
Cheers.
you want to say something?
Yes, I did put a note. Mine is just a thanks. Thanks for continuing to stay involved in the effort. I know there are a lot of moving pieces here, so I appreciate your depth of searching and finding and all of those things to stay on top of it. I'm hopeful that they'll get it done, and the feature flag will give us some breathing room there. So
it will
be good.
And that is the sweetest way that anyone has ever called me nosy. So thank you. All right. I'm good here.
All right. That's a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.